Hello friends and welcome to my position 4 tier list for patch 7.34D. These are the best soft supports in the game right now if you're interested in gaining MMR and following along with the meta, but I'll mention the pro meta, but we're more focused on the pub scene and how these heroes do there, because if you're interested in gaining MMR, like that's what matters to me more so than like what the pros are doing, but I'll mention it for those that are curious. Let's get straight into it, starting with Spirit Breaker, who is doing well in the pro scene as well, but in pub games he is great because you're frequently lacking stuns and initiation, and Spirit Breaker provides it, and he is so good right now he's being played in the off lane and the mid lane, where I'd say he's actually probably better in the off lane than as a support, but he is solid as a position 4 as well, probably pretty close to an offlaner. You could play in position 5. I think that's not so great, but you can get away with it. Position 4 though, it's the same as the last time he was broken. I actually don't have to explain him too much to many of you if you remember. He reaches a point where he one-shots creep waves, and then you can get tons of farm, split up this giant map, you show up to all these ganks everywhere. All of that is still the same, but the way you do it's just a little bit different, because last time he was broken, they're like, oh, it's too good, make his charge speed slower, but eventually reach the same point. And so they did that, some other nerfs, and so he dropped off. But then he dropped off too far, so they're like, give him more damage based on move speed. So the way it works is a little different, but effectively he reached the same endpoint by like level 7. He is one-shotting creep waves with like phase boots, windlace. It's a combination of abilities, but pretty early you start one-shotting stuff and you just scale up to the exact same place you were before. Next, Nature's Prophet. You are still seeing him in the pro scene, but dropped off a little bit. I still think he is really good in pubs. I kind of explained it in the position 5 video, and it's, again, the same as it was in the previous tier list, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. He's just good in pub games because there's so much chaos. You can be greedy, you can scale up really well while still having a lot of early game impact. Just a little bit worse, but still very good. Here's a new one for you, Muerta support. She is really good. Maybe she's not S tier. Maybe that she's still new, and this is the exciting part of it. I'm putting her higher than she should be, but she's at least A tier right now. In the pro scene, she was just a carry, but pro teams wanted more flexibility in the draft, so a lot of people started practicing her as support legitimately. Before, everyone was just playing her everywhere, as we do with new heroes, but they're like, well, these abilities are actually pretty good as a support, so if we can make that work, we have more flexibility. So the pros put in some good work there, and they figured out, yeah, she works as a support, but you gotta be good at skill shots. And if you're not good at skill shots, then she goes down here, because she is all about that. Her W, the calling, is very powerful. It just slows people in there. The silence is really good versus all these melee heroes. It's very easy to create this area where no one can use abilities. And then Deadshot is very good in the lane to push people into positions they don't mean to go into, right? They're just not expecting it, and suddenly they get hit by the Deadshot. They walk further up. They walk back into the calling, things like that. If you can use your Q and your W really well, that is the impact of support Muerta. And then as the game goes on, you can build an Ags that carry Muerta doesn't really do, but you can also just kind of like build towards a carry as well in pub games, you know. But you're still actually a legitimate support, so long as you can hit those skill shots, because damn, those skill shots are hard to land sometimes. And if you're not good at that, then you can't really fall back just being like, pew pew, gunslinger, attack command, right? That's easy. Carry Muerta, you know, uses that a lot more than the skill shots. But as a support, you don't do that. You gotta be able to hit the skill shots. But if you can, S tier hero. And finally in the S tier, we have Dark Willow. Her skill shots, easier to land, but you also gotta know how to use them. She is a little bit complex there, but I would say it's a lower skill difficulty than Muerta's skill shots. Early game impact, pretty solid. You like poke a lot in the laning stage. You have tons of crowd control as a ranged hero. Bedlam became much easier to use by just throwing onto your melee cores, and you can get damage rather than having to run into the danger yourself, put yourself at risk. No, just put it on that guy who bought Harder Tarask first and do all your damage. And if the game goes on, there is this Aghanims plus attack speed build where she scales up a ton. So I think that really works for her in pub games. You are either just this totally legit early game strong support, but you can also scale into the carry. Sneak peek, spoilers if you haven't been watching TI, but people are literally playing carry Dark Willow for how well she scales. So the fact that she works as a position 4 with that potential of becoming an actual carry, same as Muerta, to an extent, same as Nature's, to an extent, same as Spirit Breaker, but instead of, carry Spirit Breaker, it's offlane Spirit Breaker. We love that shit in pub games when things just go long. The way that pub games always do, they extend into the ultra late game and everyone gets a ton of farm and it all depends on one team fight. It is so nice to be able to play these supports that can get a lot of gold and scale well. So that's why they're all S tier heroes right now. Moving into the A tier, I don't really have that much new to say about Skywrath Mage. If you've seen him before, he's kind of the same. Just a very strong laning hero with good attack range, good spells. The long range slow plus instant silence gives him a lot of initiation utility. It's not the same as a hard stun, but it's still pretty useful in the early game where that's kind of all you need to kill a lot of these heroes, along with insane magic damage from your ultimate. The Atos change made it a lot easier and cheaper to buy to set up your own kills, but of course you don't have to do things on your own. You can work with your teammates, throw out the damage to get the kills, so Skywrath is solid. Grimstroke is pretty much the same as the position 5 tier list, so I won't go too much into it, but the extra benefit of playing him as a position 4 is that you are more likely to end up with an offlaner who will work with you compared to carry players. Carry players are typically less aggressive than the offlane hero pool, so it becomes a lot easier to use Inkswell in the laning stage to find kills, and then, go from there, continue to play with that hero. After you take that tower, hopefully, you move on throughout the rest of the game, continuing to use Inkswell, the ult, all of that stuff. If you get an Aghanims, great. You are going to get more gold as position 4 Grimstroke compared to position 5 Grimstroke. The Aghanims can be very powerful, but you don't have to go that build if it just doesn't make sense that game. He has plenty of other items to get, like Hex, Blink, things like that. Then you can have a ton of value in the late game by like double Blink, ult hexing people, stuff like that. Rubik does all the same Rubik stuff that he did in the past, but his laning stage did get herfed by the percentage damage reduction on his W being brought down. Now you're only reducing people's damage by like 2 or 3 at level 1, so it's not as easy to get favorable right-click trades like it used to be, and that's why he has dropped down a tier. But when you make it through the laning stage, he's kind of doing the same stuff. There's great spells to steal, and then you're active early with your ult. You can join a lot of these fights, so I still think he's a very solid hero if you know what's up. Phoenix has percentage damage and heal for all this tank meta going on, attack speed slows, plus ultimate on Egg, difficult to kill for melee tanky, slow attack speed heroes. As a position 4, you can get a little bit more gold. You tend to buy a lot of the same stuff that position 5 Phoenix builds, but because you're getting more gold, it's easier to get levels in your Egg, so it's not going to die as quickly. You get more levels sooner to have more damage, more impact. Fast Hex is pretty common on Phoenix, sometimes Spirit Vessels, Aeon Discs, stuff like that. So there are many items that Phoenix likes. Aghanims makes it super difficult to kill the Egg, even against fast attacking heroes. Phoenix just works as a 5 or a 4 pretty fluidly once you know how to play Phoenix. Not the easiest hero to like just straight up pick up, but once you learn it, works in both roles. So if you want a very flexible support to play legitimately either role, there you go, Phoenix. Pugna's Nether Blast does 65% damage to towers and buildings instead of 50%, so that has helped him pick up the pace as well as some buffs to how much it slows enemies when he uses Decrepify and the damage they take. So more aggressive potential from Pugna, which is better for Pugna 4 than Pugna 5. He also still has the benefit of the like heal my teammate stuff back when Pugna was pretty broken. That all got nerfed, but it's still there. So he's now, instead of just this heal bot hero, there's like a balance between it. I do a bit of healing, I do a bit of damage, push the tempo a little bit, kind of like all around. I would like to see him more. I haven't seen him a ton. I don't think the pros had a bunch of time to explore Pugna, so I'm not sure how much we'll see him in TI, but if the patch holds after TI and we don't immediately go into some new crazy patch, then I think more people will test out Pugna, and I think he will look good. Shadow Demon and Venge do the same stuff as we talked about in the position 5 video, so I don't want to repeat it too much here. Tusk, great setup. Ever since he got attack slow aura on his tag team, it has become a very powerful ability to help in the laning stage. And then of course you're just classic old Tusk. You got the ice shards, the snowball to set up these early ganks. BKB piercing ultimate for that setup. Blink snowball saves. The Aghanims, very good to break up these late game fights. You just like blink in snowball, kick someone back because you can use abilities while in snowball, so it's very safe for you, and you just kind of like set up the fights that way. Earth Spirit and Earth Shaker are actually both better mid heroes than they are 4 supports right now, but you can make them work in the 4 support role, and much like these S tier heroes, we like that because it means when the game goes late, we have that scaling potential. Earth Spirit, Ever since he got the invulnerability on his W, has just made it so much easier to play this hero. You survive so many more situations because you don't take damage and your roll can't be interrupted. Or you like people can get in your way, but they can't stun you in the middle of the roll. So you are connecting or you are getting away when you roll now, and that has just been a huge buff to this hero. Earthshaker support is actually very similar to how it used to be in the past. People started playing him as a core more after his stats kind of got buffed a little bit, and the items people were just buying. But as a support, you pretty much do the exact same thing you did before. Keeper of the Light restores more mana to himself and has a reduced cooldown when he uses it on himself, which makes it easier to keep yourself topped up and then use it on your allies. That has helped his game out a lot. Bristleback is extremely popular right now, and this is one of the most classic combinations you can have, Keeper plus Bristle. And whether you have Bristle or not, there are many core heroes that like clearing early stacks, and Coddle is one of the best early game stackers in the game. So you provide mana to your teammates better than you did in the past, and then you provide them all the gold to set up this nice early tempo, and then you just kind of like run down the game from there. In pub games, you're less likely to get that. So I'd be more hesitant about playing Coddle if you aren't like ancient or higher. But I mean, if you want to make them work, you want to make them work. I get you, but it's harder. It's harder as you go further down. Let's just run through and touch on some of the new exciting ones for the rest of the categories. Weaver has been seeing some play. He got some damage buff to Shikuchi and to his Geminate attack. But I also think the overall meta typed heroes has helped him rise in popularity. All these tanky melee heroes with slow attack speed, you can reduce their armor with the Swarm, and the Swarm is very difficult for them to deal with. This negative armor then combines with a hero like Bristleback to just like shred everyone. Chaos Knight, shred everyone. All this negative armor that you are affecting multiple heroes, keeping track of them for your team until they deal with the bug. It's just very irritating. Plus, you're just classic annoying laning stage. You can build Spirit Vessel, Solar Crest, Aghanims if you want. Those items are all really good right now, and he likes to build them. Bounty Hunter got some base attack speed. I'm surprised he wasn't more popular. Maybe there wasn't more time to figure it out. He is seeing more play as a position 4 if you want to give him a go. Kind of the same stuff you did before, but just a better laning stage with this faster attack time, a little bit better scaling, but didn't quite get to see any like carry bounties, cool stuff like that. Maybe we will see them. I was hoping with the base attack time, but if you just like playing bounty like he was before, then he is literally just better at doing that thanks to the buff. A lot of the strong position 5s you can play as position 4, and it just falls usually under like C tier, maybe B tier. Centaur Warrunner is seeing a little bit of play as a position 4. It's not a bunch. It's not OP or broken in my opinion right now. Maybe we just need to see more of it and I'll be convinced, but it is doable, and that is the fun part about playing something different and off meta. Hoof Stomp, you can move while casting it now, which has made it infinitely easier to land than in the past. Double Edge, you have high base regen, while Double Edge does this nuke damage, so you just trade effectively with the enemy using that, and eventually once you reach a point where you want to go for a kill, you Double Edge, stomp into another Double Edge because it's so low cooldown. Your offlaner is helping out as well, or you know, wherever you're ganking, they're helping out, and so that's kind of how you're getting these early game kills. Blink Dagger takes longer to build up. You're not going to be as tanky as a support either, but because we're a support, just doesn't kind of matter as much that, oh, they're focusing us, we got to kill Centaur, but you're like, haha, I'm just a position 4, my offlaner's still alive and he's killing you guys. So that's why you're kind of like baiting people in, even though you're less tanky. It's like okay because you're a support. The blink you will get to. In the meantime, you just use your ultimate, which is lower cooldown than it used to be in the past, so you just get more mileage out of it. All right, that's all I got for you this time. If you didn't see the position 5 tier list and you're curious about that, I will have it linked wherever. Please go check it out. Thank you for watching. See you in a while, actually, because I'm going to TI, so there won't be videos for a little bit after this one, but I'm not dead. The channel's not over. We'll be back. Peace out.